Hello everybody, welcome aboard. My name is Mackenzie and I'm going to be your safari guide today as we explore the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. If you want to take pictures, you are more than welcome to. Just go ahead, hang on nice and tight to those cameras and cell phones, don't want you to drop anything. And just remain seated the entire time around you. There are some particularly rare bushes with flowers. Now is this video its first safari? No? Alrighty, well as a refresher, if you guys look above you, you will see an animal spotting guide. That shows you some of the animals we could see while we're out here today. Can't guarantee we're going to see them all, but we usually have some pretty good luck. Like out to the right with the striped legs, looking kind of like a zebra back there. That's the okapi. And the okapi is most closely related to the giraffe. They share a similar skull and tongue. Believe it or not, that okapi, they can lick their own ears and eyeballs. Pretty useful, right? Make sure you do your main seated for me. And they were nicknamed the African unicorn because they weren't discovered until 1901, which is really late for an animal of that size. So researchers are still learning tons about them, but for quite a while everyone just thought they were a mythical creature. We're headed down towards the forest watering hole. This could be a hot spot for activity depending on the time of day. So as we come out, we just want to scan the entire area looking for any signs of movement. Occasionally, we are lucky enough to spot the black rhino. Unfortunately, chances of this are becoming fewer and fewer, with only about 5,000 black rhinos left in the entire world today. They're being poached for their horns. Some people think their horns have a certain medicinal value. It's actually made out of keratin. It's exactly what our fingernails and hair are made out of. I don't see any roaming the area right now, but if we see them, you'll know they're about 3,000 pounds. They can charge at speeds of 35 miles an hour, but their largest threat and their only predator is actually the human. If you look back on our left, kind of pacing around as I come up this hill, you might be able to see moving around. Looks like a very large boulder back there. I'm just able to see the tail. It looks like they're going to tuck behind some rocks here for a moment. A little bit trickier to spot, but don't worry, there are some chances to spot some white rhinos a little bit later. Hopefully we'll have some more rhinos. Now we are headed out towards the Safi River, and the Safi River contains some very unique and actually pretty dangerous animals, like crocodiles and hippos. And hippos, they can be a little bit hard to find. They're able to hold their breath for about 8 minutes at a time. They're going to actually sink down to the bottom of the river and walk along the riverbed. They don't always swim like you might assume. So while we're out here, let's look out for bubbles and ripples, maybe little eyes or ears popping up. It's going to be a good sign that they're in the area. But if you can't see, no worries, don't stand up. The Safi does stretch on for a few miles. We're going to try a little bit further ahead. And hippos, they're pretty large as well. They weigh about 5,500 pounds. You'll see a couple of them hanging out over here on our left. You see those thrashing around in the water over there? On the island, these are pink-backed pelicans. They get their name from the pink feathers that sprout on their back during the mating season. And they're colony nesters. In just one colony, you can find 20 to 500 pairs of those birds together. Alrighty, well let's keep on going. There are a few more animals we're going to spot out here. Down on the left, we are going to see Nile crocodile. They can grow to be 16 to 20 feet long. They weigh about 500 pounds. With just one meal time, they can consume almost half their body weight. So for some of them, it's going to be around 250 pounds worth of food. And they will eat again for about another 2 months. Alrighty, well let's keep on going up ahead. It looks like our surroundings are changing, which must mean that we are headed out towards the savannah. The savannah is one of my favorite places to explore. It's home to a lot of Africa's most famous animals. So while we're out here, let's look out for giraffes, zebras, elephants. We might even get to see a lion or two if we are very, very lucky. But if you don't see what you're looking for right away, don't get discouraged. The savannah does stretch on for a few hundred miles. We're going to be out here for quite some time today. If you look over on your right, you'll see a huge tree. This is the baobab. It can go leafless for around 9 months. That helps it better conserve water when there's very little rainfall out here. It's even been nicknamed the upside down tree because it kind of looks like it's upside down. But those are actually its branches sticking up, not its roots. Down here on the right, we're going to see some very small little tan antelope. Those are springbok. And they are the second fastest mammals on the reserve. They can run 55 miles an hour, jump 6 feet in the air, and leap as far forward as 13 feet. So they go very far, very fast if they need to. They kind of look like babies because they're so small, but this is them fully grown. About 70 to 140 pounds. Just make sure you're main seated for me, friends. Just have a seat for me. Thanks so much. Out here we're going to see a whole lot of activity. A very large herd. Those are white-throated wildebeest, also called moose, spelled G-N-U after the sound they make when they grunt. Every year, 1.5 million of them are going to travel 500 to 1,000 miles in search of food, and one of the largest migrations we get to see out here. They do have a pretty tough love approach when it comes to their newborns. If they can't learn to walk within the first 15 minutes of being born, they just leave behind.
I know.
Resting back there. It's a spotted hyena. They are very unique. They're actually born with their eyes wide open and an emerging set of teeth, which is quite unusual for mammals. And in their hierarchy, females are always going to outrank the males. That's because they are physically larger. So if you look in there, kind of resting in the straw right now, you might see them. No, it's just resting. So they're nocturnal. So once it gets dark, that's when they're going to wake up. But right now, they're just sleeping. Over here on the left, you might see a shaggy brown antelope. These are water buck. And water buck get their name because they like to spend a lot of time around water. They have an oily secretion on their throat that waterproofs it, but it makes them smell horrible. So not a lot of animals like to hang out around them. Go like that all on their own. You can see some younger ones kind of in the center. One of my favorite things about them is they have these cute little hard noses. Once they get close, you might be able to tell. Now we're going to see some smaller tan antelope as well, kind of walking along that water buck. And that's a baby Patterson's eland. Once they're fully grown, they're going to weigh anywhere from 500 to 2,000 pounds. They'll be able to jump around 6 to 8 feet in the air from a standstill position, so very, very quickly, or very high, I'm sorry. It's that little baby right here on our left. These are all kind of the lawnmowers. They eat way down low to the ground, keeping the grass nice and short. Those huge horns over on our left belong to Ankoli cattle, also called Watusi cattle after the tribe that first domesticated them. They are the only domesticated animals on the reserve. And those horns can grow to be about 4 feet long. But they're not heavy like the Nea suit, they're about 14 to 20 pounds each. Pretty exciting as well if you look kind of towards the back of this path right here. That's a little baby giraffe making their way through. Once they're fully grown, they'll be about 16 to 20 feet tall. When they're first born, they'll be about 6 to 7 feet tall. They're actually born standing up, and they can walk within the first hour of being born. And we're in a little bit of a traffic jam if you can't tell. They're stopping up ahead, so our trucks are going to be stopped here for a minute, just until they decide they want to move again. Now we know that those are Maasai giraffe because they have very rough, bumpy spots. Other species like reticulated giraffes, they're going to have really clean, smooth spots. Getting a nice view of the springbuck over here on our right, kind of popping out of the tall grass. Now this group of giraffe, it's called the tower. Once that tower gets on the move, it's called a journey. So right now we're watching a journey of giraffes. This is like a great time of day to come because everyone's kind of just moving around. Yeah, they're a type of cattle, but they're related to bison and buffalo, which is why they're so big. They don't really serve a huge purpose. They're not used for labor. You don't need them. They're just a sign of wealth. Okay, so the more cattle you have, the better off you are. We are going to come very close. Please keep those cell phones, and cameras inside the truck for me. Alrighty, tons of movement going on. This is a great time to be here. And that's that little baby giraffe kind of over on the left, trying to catch up with the whole group. See a few more giraffes moving around back there. What a good view of them. Nice and slow, but we are going to keep on moving. We're going to head out towards Monkey Point. It's called Monkey Point, but it's also the start of elephant country. Elephants love it out here because there are lots of trees they can eat from, lots of watering holes they can drink from, cool down in. And the monkeys love it because all these trees provide excellent homes. Africa's home to the largest monkey in the world, and that's the mandrill. Mandrill males weigh about 100 pounds, while females weigh only 30, so there's quite a big size difference between the two. And they're actually famous for the bright red of the marking on their face that gets brighter and brighter as they get more and more excited. So we'll just continue to scan the area. They can be a little bit shy, tucking up behind rocks and bushes. Not seeing anything quite yet. Let's keep on rolling. Sometimes elephants do come down to this watering hole to get a drink, but I'm not seeing any in the area. So let's go out towards the red clay pits. That's where they go sometimes if they are looking for food. So we'll head out there. A while ago, our road did kind of get washed out. So we were taking an old maintenance bridge. Now it's going to look a little bit rough, but we came out here this morning. We wrapped it up in a whole lot of duct tape. So it should be safe and good to go. Alrighty. It doesn't separate when you're just getting nice and slow. We should be A-okay. Right, I moved it over. And it looks like all you did too. That's excellent. Now if you look over on our right, you may see some red clay starting to build up around us. Elephants come out and can actually eat the clay. It adds a ton of extra minerals into their diet. And in front of us, I do see some very big footprints. To the left and to the right, I see tusk marks. So we know that they've been through. Just want to keep an eye out for the herd. Along with red clay, elephants can eat about 300 away to go find more food. During those migrations, they have gotten into a little bit of trouble. Now they've been trampling some of the farmers' crops. So researchers on the reserve learned that the African elephant is afraid of the sound of bees. Now farmers all over Africa, they put up bee fences. It helps to scare the elephants away without hurting them. But it also gives the farmers a second source of income because they're able to sell the honey that those bees produce. I've not seen a whole lot of elephant movement out here. It's okay, we're going to try a little bit further forward. If not, we're going to go find a few more animals. Now if you look at the right side on that baobab tree, pretty good signs that elephants do come through the area. Just very large circles. Those are actually puncture marks from elephant tusks. In times of drought, elephants are really smart. They know that that tree stores water, so they're actually going to puncture it, put their trunk up to it, and drink out of it, kind of like a giant juice box. Around on our left, I do see some greater flamingo. These are going to be the lightest shade of any kind of any flamingo species. They're actually hatched gray, and then about a year later, like they do this beautiful color. It's mainly due to the food that they eat. Stomach shrimp contains a compound called beta-carotene. And their coloring. This group together is called a flamboyant flamingo. And with that, we're going to go towards rhino country. Now, it gets insane because it's home to the white rhino. They weigh about 5,000 pounds. They're almost 2,000 pounds heavier than the black rhinos that I looking for a little bit earlier. That just gets mud off the tires as we make our way through. Now, if you look over on our left, we're going to see some grand zebra, black with white stripes. You can just tell by the color of their nose. They're strong enough to use those back legs to kick and break the jaw of an attacking lion if they ever need to. The brown antelopes are bontebok, almost extinct out in the wild. One of the only places we can find them is on reserves like this. At one point in history, there were only about 17 of them left in the entire world. To our right and left, these white antelopes, these are addicts. They fill their whole lives without drinking a single drop of water. They get all the hydration they need from the vegetation that they eat. Might be just a little bit bumpy as we go on by. They're also nicknamed the corkscrew antelope because if you look at those huge horns, they've got a giant spiral that runs down the entire thing. Alright, well we are going to keep on looking out for white rhinos as we make our way forward. There's that huge mud puddle. Hot takes rhinos love to roll around in the mud, keeps it nice and cold. Also keeps these tiny little bugs off their skin so they can be a bit more comfortable. And this road is going to take us out towards a copie. Copies are huge rock formations where we are going to try to find lions. We should be there in just a few moments. Now lions, they are inactive for about 16 to 20 hours out of the day. They're going to be mostly active at night. So they come out and do a lot of their hunting. And the females are their primary hunters. Oh, look at this. They are up and moving around for us. How awesome. So they're going to be up on the left. 2 females and 1 male. It looks like they're going to the other side. We're going to catch up with them. We still got a beautiful view of this eagle right here. Now females are the primary hunters. Males only join the hunt about 10% of the time. Once that female brings back food, males eat first, followed by the females, and then the cubs get whatever's left over. Let's swoop around and see if we can find that male lion. On our way, if we start looking out to the right, you're going to see the white rhinos kind of resting together in their little group. Trying to swing around. It's going to be kind of in this break of trees over here. Way back there on our right, you can see him kind of hanging out there. how long their horn is. Horns grow an average of around 3 to 6 inches every single year. Alright, just make sure you remain seated for me. Yeah, they do have really bad eyesight. Alright, guys, have a seat for me, please. Thanks so much, friends. Yeah, but those are some huge ostrich eggs. Have you been to Africa before? Yeah? You can come up here. And those ostrich eggs, they are huge. They weigh about 3 pounds each. They're super strong. Someone around 200 pounds can stand right on top of them. They won't crack. They do take about 40 days to hatch, and that's the longest incubation period out of any of the eggs on the entire reserve. So we're going to go out towards our last area of the day today, Magadi Glen. A lot of migratory animals make their way through here, so we're not really quite sure what we're going to do with life. But let's head out and see. I like to look up for the yellow-billed storks. It looks like they're going to be hanging out by the watering hole. Those are pretty big birds. They've got a wingspan around 5 feet. And they're actually carnivores. They like to eat things like fish, frogs, lizards, and snakes. Might get just a little bit bumpy as we begin to exit, so make sure you are seated holding on to those belongings. And in just a few moments, we'll be dropping you guys back off at the village of Harambe. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. You got to see a lot of cool animals out there. We saw the giraffes for quite some time. We got nice and close. Got a great view of the lions. We even saw the white rhinos at the last minute. Now, if y'all are interested in helping animals, much like the ones we've seen today, there are lots of ways we can all get involved. Throughout our day, we can practice small conservation steps, such as reusing, reducing, and recycling. Just a little bit of effort on our part could make a huge impact on the environment that these animals call home. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to come up and talk to me afterwards. Or you could talk to any of the villagers out in Harambe. They'll be happy to assist you as well, especially if you'd like to get more involved in conservation today. If you're looking for a few more of these streets tonight, safaris will be running until 8 p.m. That's when the park closes. And come on back and do a nighttime safari where you can see different nighttime behaviors. Also maybe get to see those lions up and maybe a little bit more active, but we got a really good view. There's also the Tree of Life Awakening up in Discovery Island. 4 different shows throwing you out every 10 minutes. You can stay for one, you can stay for long. It is really up to you, but it's beautiful. I recommend seeing at least one while you're here. Now, friends, I am about to drop y'all back off, which is my least favorite part of the day. However, out here in Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye. It's just a little bit too sad and final. So instead, we say kwaherini, which means go well. So kwaherini, friends, have a great rest of your day wherever your adventures may take you.